Good afternoon and welcome to TalkSports, our weekend program. It's our Saturday sports special, and greet you from Brooklyn, New York this afternoon. I want to wish everyone a pleasant weekend, okay? Yeah. So on our program this weekend, as we said, we look at a sort of review on the presentation made by the sports minister. That's the new sports minister, Redhead. Last weekend, he was along with the transition lead. That's former sports minister Patrick Simmons. Said lots of things were said, and we'll try to dissect some of those things. We'll also look at the World Athletics Championships ongoing. It's in Eugene, Oregon, and after day one, folks, some sparks. We saw the mixed relays. At 4x4 mixed relays, we saw the men's 100 meters heats. Wow. And a world under 20 record broken. In fact, it's legitimized now because remember, it had some issues with that same guy from Botswana back then. Now he shows that he's a real deal. Okay. We'll also look at the upcoming Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, England. By the way, we'll also try to make contact with some folks in Eugene, Oregon to hear what's happening there in terms of NACAT and the performances of some of our athletes, as well as some of the decisions taken at the council meeting. That's the World Athletics, the council meeting that to some extent will affect NACAC or will have some bearing on NACAC. As you know, NACAC is probably the strongest federation within the World Athletics. And we'll also look at some of the performances over the past week or so. We had volleyball, OECS volleyball. We had all the issues regarding Grenada and the accommodation and all these things back in Antigua. We also have cricket, Windward Islands cricket, the under 17, under 19s. Good performances from the guys. I'm not just talking about Grenada, from the youngsters. We also had swimming, some folks doing very well in swimming. And I also had the opportunity to speak to some youngsters at an academy in Woburn in St. George's, Grenada. And yesterday, Friday, was their final day. But on Thursday, I was able to speak to some of those folks virtually, and it's amazing that even at a very young age, how they are starting to gravitate towards being respectful, listening to their instructors, to their parents, and, what some of them have in mind in terms of what they want to do. Some of them have been following sports, 7, 8, 9-year-olds, and they already have in mind who they would like to be like in the future. Very good. Okay. So we'll be talking about a couple things. Okay. As usual, my co-pilot is in Toronto. And yes, he is in Toronto, and probably is a good time to say good afternoon to you. Good afternoon, Rudian.
Hey, how you doing, my man? It's good to see you. How is everything?
Yeah, everything is fine, and I know it's a sort of busy weekend, and we have lots to talk about. By the way, folks, it's not an athletics program. It's just that athletics dominated the program at this time of the year. But welcome once again, Rudian. And we're going into some, I want to start off with the World Athletics, I have some videos I will show a little later on. But what would you say regarding what you have seen in terms of day one of the World Athletics Championships?
Yeah, well, day one was very impressive. First and foremost, I was happy to see Allyson Felix farewell, medal, which is very good. I was looking forward to that. So it's nice to see her finish on top as the way she started out on top. So that was really good. And so far it's so good. Oregon is it's a great place to perform. It's a great facility. It's a great environment. The World Championship is the best that you can find in the world at this time, and people just have to perform. So I'm looking forward to some great things. Looking forward to some great things.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned about Allyson Felix, because it was, I mean, unfortunately, they didn't get the gold. They got a bronze. But it was one way of at least saying farewell to Allyson Felix.
Yeah,
and
most definitely.
I will give praise to the USATF for, ensuring. I mean, because, they could have put her in the 4x4, but I assume they figured that the mixed 4x4 might have been a better,
well, they would have been some it would have been some very voice to hear about that.
Right. So I think it was well thought out in terms of where she should compete and what she should compete in, and I thought it was well. Yeah,
no, most definitely, because the 4x4 team, in my opinion, wouldn't be the 4 fastest girls from the US trial. They would add a thing more. She will be on the team, as well as Sydney McLaughlin. She will be on that team. So so at least
or they could have put her in the prelims. She
put her in something,
and she don't necessarily have to run the finals. But
we never know. You never know. They tend to do some things out there. We never know. Otherwise, everything else is good. Performance was really good. Day one so far is good, and can't wait to see the triple jump, because that's my thing there, and
but the fact of that they chose the world stage to say goodbye to her, I think it says a lot.
No, it did, and it wasn't surprising she would have been on the team. She did came 6th at the US trial, and so that would have at least put her on the team as an alternate. So she would have been there, even if she won the heats on the 4x4 or not. She would have probably been there. But and not only at the world stage, but at home on US soil. Especially for what she's been through with Nike losing the sponsor, which benefit her, which she carve her own brand. So that's really good to see her finish up on top at home. And like I said, so many things is going on in athletics now. In the United States, I know me and you had a brief conversation. The finances is a little different. You see the gap different, which we're going to talk about. You heard of some big world athletes, former world class athletes getting high position jobs. So it's like Carl Lewis, head of the University of Houston track and field now. Those days is big, it's really big. It's really big,
Well, let's say good afternoon to our good friend.
Hey, Hazel, how you doing?
Yeah, and certainly Hazel is not one of those getting the big high-paying jobs in track and field. And and talking about Hazel too. I mean, and it comes back to mine. And Hazel come up just at the time when you were speaking about it. Allyson Felix getting the world stage to say goodbye. And I wish that sometimes we give our athletes that sort of farewell. That sort of farewell in terms of saying, hey, thank you, and we wish you all the best. And we give you the opportunity as well. We give the public the opportunity to say, in this instance, it's a global public, global stage, to say goodbye to them. I wish people like Hazel and Aline and all the others could have had a situation. Even yourself,
they're most definitely. The contribution that they have put to for Grenada, truly putting Grenada on the map, bigger in track and field, come from that era of time. In the last 20 years, with Nisha Bernard, Francic and Kirani James, and even before Kirani and those guys in them, you have those guys in them was putting, Grenada on the map, Hazelin and so it was good. So it's something good that should happen. It's never too late, but it's always good to say thank you for what they have done to contribute for track and field of Grenada.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I recall when we were speaking to Hazel the last time, she mentioned some names, and one of the names she mentioned was Sherry Fletcher. And there have been times when people had asked me, what happened to Sherry Fletcher, for example? And I think that is the problem. Our athletes were, and it's not just track and field.
Yeah.
It would be in track and field, it would be cricket, it would be football. We do not give them, well, I think cricket to a lesser extent, because I think of recent, cricket has been finding ways of bidding farewell to our our national players. I saw they had a little ceremony, for example, Devon Smith, when for the Windward Islands. I understand that the Grenada Cricket Association itself is doing something to say formally farewell to him.
Yeah.
Look, Junior Murray, for example.
I was about to say that. Yeah.
He's now incorporated into the Grenada Cricket Association and things like that. So
and a lot of names, even in football, a lot of names that I know, and I'm just speaking about the names that I know, like Franklin Batiste, who was a captain. I grew up with in my area in St. Patrick's. He is part of the women. Yeah, he's part of the women, right? So a lot of them is coming back. We just don't hear their names. So you hear from the side who is a part of it. You just don't hear those names. So it's good to see that.
Good point. And that is why I think when we were discussing the issue of the sports policy, we were saying that there are issues in the policy that we believe could be implemented without major changes. So things like the recognition, what else do you need to do to recognize people? You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Things like the archiving, for example. What else do you need to do archiving than to have someone that can do the research, that can have someone that can, the research involve talking to, some of the people of the past, hearing from them, their stories, documenting their stories. They may have medals and artifacts that they may wish to either
experience too. Experience do matter, right?
Yeah, and have them digitalized and all these sort of things. So I'm saying these are the low-hanging fruits. Okay. Yeah. Some people may take issue as to, hey, we need to do major changes. Yeah, we may need to do changes, but I'm saying there are low-hanging fruits that we can tackle from the go, recognizing our current and past, finding a way, because there's already a framework, finding a way where we can recognize them. While we're on that, and I think I will try to get some folks on as well. Hazel is saying, right, so places in the stadium with pictures of our sportsmen and women, certainly. They don't necessarily have to be, no, listen, when you travel to the Bahamas and you walking through the airport, the Lyndon Pindon International Airport, there is what you call a wall of fame. And the wall of fame, to be some, I don't know whether or not they are biased to track and field, but the wall of fame are their former and outstanding sportsmen and women.
Yeah.
I understand that there are plans for them to put together and construct a sports museum as well. Jamaica is also talking about that, as a matter of fact, right? A sports museum. But that is the sort of recognition that we are talking about. Not just that, people do it different ways, okay? We may not have the space as Bahamas Airport and all those things, so to do something like in the airport. But as Hazel's saying, what's about the stadium, for example? Okay? What's about the stadium? We have a cricket stadium. We have a football and athletic stadium. There's ample room in the stadium that you can afford to put those things.
People not only that too. And you're right, because I have an idea that it's not the same thing as in that case, but in terms of if we may not have the building, but if we have it in proper frame, you could rent a school and have that as an exhibition for a week or a month in a specific room in specific schools where you could move it, and you could just have it there where people could still come between A time and B time and seeing the past of Grenada sports, and some of the, and even those coaches and those who are contribute two sportsmen and women in Grenada over the past 100 years, whichever it might be when sports starts in Grenada. And if we have that, it doesn't have to be a museum. You know, most people can put some in nice frames. And you might have a screen with a video or showing, and just you just those things and them, something like that could be really good.
Yeah. Listen. Good afternoon, Roger. It's a big elephant, so we got to chew bit by bit. Yes, I agree with that. We have to chew bit by bit, and I'm saying that's some of the bits and things we're talking about. But Rudian, the point I'm making here is that, look, for example, don't you know that during the cruise season that there are cruise passengers who go to the stadium? Sometimes they walk to the stadium. Somehow they see from the
big stadium there, coming in. Yeah.
They see the stadium, so they will walk there. Some of them do play. They do play cricket. I know that,
Yeah.
Because I remember back, there was a time I was in Grenada preparing for the Invitational, and I met some of those visitors and things like that. So, but I'm saying, could you imagine that folks come, they see the stadium, they walk to the stadium, and there's nothing for them to actually see other than probably one or two folks probably running, or just an empty stadium. And look, for example, the cricket stadium. They should be able to go and see the names and something. The name, a photo, and probably a little bio, just short
of those who have done.
Whether it's Devon, Andre, Murray, and folks go way back when, a few of those folks. I don't see. I mean, that what is hampering or deterring us from thinking like that and doing something like that? Hey, it's a starter, because
it's a start,
and you have others, and you keep adding and adding
and you keep going. No, definitely, because and it's funny because the location of the stadium put such a beautiful view when you're on a cruise. My mother, definitely from Grenada, but she went on a cruise and she said that view. She said that view coming in. Most people travel back to Grenada when they see the white sand, just the Grenada's beach. They didn't even go on the sand. And I know of many people who went back to Grenada because of the white sand, Grenada's beach.
Mr. Man, I cruise to Grenada already, so I know what you're talking about. I cruise to Grenada. I play tourist myself. Come on, I play tourist. I cruise to Grenada.
You're a tourist.
Family had a cruise, and we came off and things like that. So cruise to Grenada. We had a cruise to the Southern Caribbean. After Grenada, we went down to, I think it was to Aruba, and then back up to the Dominican Republic. So I know what you're talking about, man. And I know the feeling.
So that's what gravitated people. So then coming to that, what is there for them?
And by the way, at that time I cruised, we had the derelict of a stadium at the time. It was not the what's there now. Okay, it was
now. So does that mean that Tourism Grenada should also get involved?
Well,
because it could be part of that, right?
All hands on deck. All hands on deck. In fact, remember, again, we're going back to our sports Bible, the Grenada Sports Bible, which is the sports policy. It makes reference to the various stakeholders. Tourism Authority, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Sports, Ministry of, culture is now under sports, so all of that will take care of things, because, there are times when you can, have a marriage, if and if Tourism Authority, for example, is coordinating, they may even organize for a team that there are cricketers who normally will tour as a team, but they're not necessarily touring to go and play cricket. But if they know that they enter in Grenada or they enter in Barbados or St. Lucia, and we can play probably a 10 overs match against a local team, why not?
Why not?
All of that is because you collaborated. By the way, folks, while you're on that, and I don't want to lose that thought, which is good news, I understand that a Grenada national cricket team is preparing to tour England. Come Wednesday, they'll be touring England. Hear it from me. Breaking news. You can say breaking news. A Grenada national cricket team is preparing to tour England from sometime next week. They will play about 8 to 9 matches while in England. And I can tell you which is very good news as well. Again, how they are incorporating some of our players, the Devon Smith, the Andre Fletcher, and some of our young players, albeit some of them may not be able to go because they were selected on the Windward Islands team, and I think they're going into camp. But they'll be touring England, so an opportunity to expose some of our young players. We have Junior Murray as one of the coaches. Again, if you have a Junior Murray, Devon Smith, and Andre Fletcher, you know, we're talking about at least 3 players with West Indies cap. Okay, to some extent. Well, Junior is retired. Devon, you know, retired as well. And obviously, the English blokes will want to see those guys.
Yeah. Those guys, yeah.
Our Grenadians in the diaspora in England, they want to see them as well. Okay, but I'm just showing you how this can probably propel into future, not just tours for young players to England, but even for English teams to come to Grenada. Because I understand, while this is being organized through the Grenada Tourism Authority, that there are plans for English schools, as the case was many years ago, to tour Grenada. And for 2 tournaments, I think one is a Junior Murray schoolboys tournament and another is an Andre Fletcher club tournament. But you see what I'm talking about in terms of planning?
Things are happening. Things are happening.
Planning.
Yeah.
Planning. And are we talking about something that we know of that may happen about in a year away, right?
Yeah.
So it's not I mean, we're hearing about a tour that's coming up. But I'm talking about these tournaments that they're planning for next year. And they start,
next year.
Yeah, the process. Okay. So while we were talking about that, some comments were coming in, and I want to get to our comments because I think we have to make we may have to go over to Eugene shortly. Let me see. Roger is saying we can place the wall of fame in the clouds while we figure out the physical allocation. All right, Roger. Yeah, in the clouds. A sports policy is what we need. Well, we have one. I'm certain. I agree with you. What we need to do, again, I'm saying we can review the policy and some of those things that we can, because I was in a discussion with someone and I realize some people are short fused these days, and because we share differences of opinion, and I'm saying it here, the person got upset with me, and I believe they blocked me after, but I shared a different opinion, and I thought we could respect that, you disagree with me. I didn't so much disagree with you, but I just shared a different opinion, as I say. But the person took it a bit personal, and it just shows you sometimes our level of maturity. Hey, I still remain, if you're looking at the program, I still remain your friend. But that's besides the point. What I'm saying is that you do not need a policy, or you do not need to change a policy, or you do not need to stall a policy, because in the policy it speaks about, let's say, the installation of lights. Well, I mean, come on, the installation of lights, you have the pole, you know where you want to install the lights, you already did all the feasibility studies for all the fields you want to install lights, and you want to tell me you will hold up that because you have to review the policy? Lights, installation of lights. I mean, this is different to something like providing incentives and other aspects that you may need to see. Yeah. Okay, how we getting the funding for the incentives? Who get the incentive? There are a lot of couple things. But
a couple things, yeah.
Lights, as a matter of fact, you could even collaborate with the private sector to install lights if you want. There isn't, the policy speaks about a process and the continuation of installation of lights. Come on. So I said, no, I don't agree that you have to hold up a policy or review a policy because it has something to do with lights. I say, hey, there are other things in the policy that you may want to review. You may want to make changes. So be it. Just as you have a law, you have the law for driving. And from time to time, they review the law, they update the law, and things like that. So, but I didn't mean to say the law go on hold
On hold,
Because
yeah,
of that.
yeah.
All they do, they
Because of that,
update the law and they say, hey, the
you
law has
you,
been
you
revised.
updated because based on how things are, and that's why we are speaking about
On.
education. And I've always been saying you have to educate yourself on the sports policy that is there. You have to
Yeah.
educate yourself on how sports is changed. It's not like it used to be in the old days. People use a tablet now to quote somebody. You know, people do all this stuff on them. We don't, you know, back then we didn't have that, but it's the technology now, and it work for some people. Someone had a conversation with someone concerning Grenada athletics should give scholarships, and I said no. I said you got to understand. I said that's my opinion because I'm experienced in scholarships and going to university. The minute you get a scholarship, you no longer belong to Grenada. You belong to that university. Grenada don't have a say no more. So if a Grenada have a national game somewhere, the school can say no, you can't go. So we have to learn how to think. Grenada could be a part of it and helping in some way in a development and an athlete. But in terms of Grenada giving a scholarship for someone, no, it don't work that way. You understand? So we have to know the difference and know how some things work. It's important to get involved if you have a development athlete who is on a national team that is on a scholarship. You make sure that the well-being is taken care of. You know, but in terms of getting involved, now is you no longer have that right. The minute that they go away to school, you don't have that power anymore. That was given over, right? So yeah.
All right. Some more comments there. Let me get this one first. As regards to archives, I've got images from roughly 2013 to 2020, so photos shouldn't be a problem. Thanks, Haran. That should never be a problem. Yourself and I think Jazel and others would have been doing a very great job over the past few years. If you go into the late Carol Bristol office, you will see more cricket history than the National Stadium. Right. The late Carol Bristol, yeah, he was, he was, I don't know what to talk about cricket. We need a lot more like the Carol Bristol, the late York, and others, we have so much vacant space in both massive stadium in St. George, Kirani James Athletic Stadium and the National Cricket Stadium. Yep. Another one, absolutely. There needs to be permanent frames, fixtures of outstanding athlete, not something that can just be ripped off the wall or just placed arbitrarily in places. The Sports Museum will do it and do it the right way. Well, Kyron, and I thought the Olympic House, for example, would have been a place that could have, be an ideal place for something like that. I was just, in terms of, by the way, I've never gone into the building. I drove around the building and things like that. So I got in there a bit late, so there wasn't anyone who was there that I wanted to see. And I think the security guard told me that they were not there. And the next time that I planned to go, I had something doing and then I left. But from the outside, okay, it seems to be a massive structure. And I was thinking that the Olympic House may be one area where you can have somewhere set about as a museum. Just an idea, especially in the context of quite a lot of our outstanding performances and things in the case of, well, historic, I should say, historic, in terms of our first Olympic gold medal, these sort of things. So could be archived in the Olympic House. That was just a thought at the time. Then let me see. Hazel is saying, we could also have our young men and women who are interested in sports tour the stadium as part of a field trip so they can learn about our current and past sportsmen and women. Right. There was a time that there was this place in Bolio. Somebody, if they could remind me, Spice Basket had a cricket museum. And that cricket museum had a lot of West Indian history with it. In fact, a number of former West Indies players donated things to that cricket museum. I must really find it from Mr. Hugh Dolan, what is the situation regarding that cricket museum that was at the Spice Basket a few years ago? Also, what about here it is. What about the West Indies Cricket Museum, which was, okay. I didn't even see that, Haran. That is what I was just speaking about. Yeah. The West Indies Cricket Museum, where I recall a number of, former cricketers provided things to the museum. Let me see what this Mike is saying. All resources need to be put toward the upkeep of our current crop of athletes. We can look at Hall of Fame when we get our house in order with reference to our current athletes. We are struggling to make ends meet and stay in sport. We have too many on the age who are contemplating retirement. And yeah, that is true, Mike. But again, we are saying it's not just track and field. I mean, this is not a track and field program. We're not just talking about track and field. It just happened that track and field is one of the sport. We mentioned football. We mentioned cricket. Track and field may have its problem, but that must not deter us from doing what we think is right.
Yeah.
Yes, we all know that and by the way, other associations have their problems. It may not be as how you're describing it in terms of track and field, but I don't think things like that should deter us from thinking about what we're thinking about in terms of recognizing our athletes. That is a form of recognition, by the way. It is a form of recognition. And while I understand what you're talking about and the plight, I don't think that should deter. I think that will have massive support, even from those who believe they are disenfranchised or marginalized, because it's a form of recognition. And it's not just track and field. We're talking about, that's why I even suggested the Olympic House, for example, because, of course, if you go to the track and field stadium, it might be track and field and football. If you go to the cricket stadium, it'll be cricket. The Olympic House could be all sports.
All sports, yeah.
So
all Olympic sports.
All Olympic sports. So it's something we can think about, and it should not deter us from thinking that way. We have to be, we have to be positive. I understand where you're coming from, and I know you track and field specific, track and field oriented, but in this case, our concept is on all sports, recognizing our former sportsmen and sportswomen, okay, and having something as some people call it, a wall of fame, for example, okay. Here's another one. I would like to see some of the kids and athletes tour the states participating in the summer track season, and can't have the same people who select after team selecting who gets scholarship. Too much spite and bias. Well, yeah, I understand. This is one thing I want to bring to your attention here, which came out today from NACAC as it regards to our performances on day one of the track and field. For some, it might be a bit small print, but the performances, again, NACAC somehow always tend to lead our performances from our athletes. And as you can see there, it appears that our athletes are doing pretty well so far in terms of the times qualifying. Most of the NACAC athletes are into the final. It will be dominated to some extent, hopefully. I wouldn't be surprised that we have an all NACAC. No, it can't be an all NACAC final because there's some good Africans,
Yes, there is.
Yeah, it's doing very well, and we cannot take that away from him. Okay, that is one thing that we cannot. And then this is the final of the slide with our athletes continuing, and I'm certain that's just day one. So we'll see what happens on day two, which should be starting not too long from now. We should have some more of these, track and field in action, right? What again do we have? Oops, let me tell you. Okay, we do have, with the compliments of the, what do I say? The compliments of World Athletics. I will, first of all, have the, we'll put her there and then we'll talk after. We'll put her there and then we'll talk after, folks.
Public beginning to struggle here. USA clearly in first. Listen to the noise for Felix. Listen to this. It's a spine-tingling atmosphere from a woman who has made this look so easy for decades. 2 legs to go. Felix signs off in style, but will it be a medal, and which colour? Dominican Republic ahead of the United States. But Vernon Norwood is having one of the best seasons we've seen from him, and he looks really comfortable. Cofield of the Dominican Republic is closing. Has he got enough room? It's America or the Dominican Republic. Oh, you never read the script. Dominican Republic take it. Cabal comes through for silver for the Dutch, and it is a medal for Alison Felix, but the curtain comes down with a bronze instead of a gold. That is why we love watching sport. That is why we love athletics. Yes, there was passion. We roared for Felix. It would have been a great story, but guess what? It was, because the Dominican Republic thoroughly deserved that win.
So true.
Are you concluding that they deserve that win?
Yeah, they work hard for it. And it was a great race. It's on the day that matters. And you put everything out on the final race, final day, final competition, and the result is the result. And a relay team, everyone do their part, and one person might do better than another. It would have been nice to see gold for her, but a medal is just as good for her to finish up than nothing at all. So I am very happy with that. Very, very happy with what I see.
Wouldn't it be nice also to see a Grenada team and Grenada mixed team?
It'll be nice to see, most definitely to see a Grenada mixed team in there, and I think it's possible, but it just, you know, we got to put it together, man. But not only Grenada, we had there was only two teams. Was it Bahamas and Jamaica was the only two that had from the Caribbean?
Well, and the Dominican.
And Dominican. You'd have been to see Trinidad in there. And other islands, because it's a mixed team, right? It will be nice to see that. So,
yeah,
in the future, man, we hope.
I thought it was one of the highlights of day one. I mean, yes, it was the final event of the day on the track. Brought some level of excitement because we know the days leading up to the start of this, that there was some horrible news regarding
lots.
Visa and athletes arriving on the day of the meet and all these hiccups and things.
One of my favorite female sprinter from the Ivory Coast, Talou. I was really hoping that she wouldn't miss it. Her name is on the start list, so I want to say that she's there.
Yeah, I saw her name there. But the thing about it too is not just that. I was speaking to some folks there regarding the actual accommodation, you know, and as you know,
that's a disappointment too.
Most of the folks are staying in dorms, not the hotel that they probably used to in terms of these games and things. And even even the spectators are staying, far
3-4 hours away.
Far away. In fact, I saw a journalist posted having dinner last evening, and he was in Florence. And I know Florence is very far, right?
Far away, yeah.
And he has to commute because of the hotel and the cost. By the way, so in some instances, $300 a night. I mean, I recall I was in Eugene for the Diamond League back in 2017, I think. Yeah, 2017. I was there with Kirani in 2017, 28. Well, the Diamond League back then. I remembered that there were problems in terms of hotels, you know. Luckily, I was able to get a hotel early enough, you know, and things like that. So, but I know of folks who really had problems regarding hotel. And I was wondering, I say, could you imagine Eugene? At that time, there was nothing about Eugene hosting the World Championships. But I was thinking that, could you imagine Eugene hosting the World Championship, something as the World Championships, and thousands of people, you know, having to get down there, and where they will be able to stay? And I thought about it, but then I just left it like that. You know, I even saw where folks were traveling via Phoenix, for example. They fly, They came from the Caribbean and had to go for, I think, to Dallas,
And
to Miami,
it's just a bad location. It's a
Dallas
phenomenal.
to Phoenix, and Phoenix
Yeah,
to you know.
yeah. It is. It's a phenomenal stadium. It's a state-of-the-art stadium. Everyone
Yeah.
would want it. The
But
combination is not the greatest.
well, it is.
It
It is suited right for the university, right? Because
but
it is
even
a.
in then,
Remember,
because
it's
I
a
was gonna
university
go,
stadium.
but I was gonna go to the NCAA championship because my athlete was competing, and then someone advised me saying, "Man, if you don't get hotels at a certain time, you might be driving an hour, 2 hours to get into, back and forth." So the accommodation at a stadium like this is very, it's not good. It's not
Yeah.
good. But we know LA wouldn't be like that, right? Definitely not.
Well,
So LA definitely wouldn't be like that.
And the thing about Eugene is that we'll have to accept Eugene for quite a while, because remember, that's the permanent host for the NCAAs, right? The permanent host.
And they actually would have it. The next year it's in Texas A&M, but the next few years it is back there again. So it just next year they're losing it, but the rest of the years they're going to be hosting it. So
yeah,
it'll be quite a thing. Yeah.
All right, we'll get back to the World Championships, but there's one comment that came in: rural playing fields, they're poor condition, no toilets, no pavilion, etc. Lights are being installed. I know you will not promote such. Well, I won't. Certainly, I won't promote. But as part of as part of the sports policy, by the way, and I thank you very much, Mr. Glean, for the information. But I think you should also read the sports policy, because it speaks about that. It speaks about the upgrading of the facilities. Yeah. And I think it's a package in terms of that upgrading of facilities, including, well, not necessarily pavilion, because come on, we know some of the fields in the US that are hosting college meets and things, they don't have pavilions. They have what you call those fabricated bleachers. And they have the toilets and bathrooms and things, and some of them are the portables, right? They do have the portables and things, but not necessarily. Not necessarily structure. Not necessarily a structure as a pavilion, etc., etc. And I think sometimes we get lost into that, and we forget that when our athletes leave here and they go and compete in the US and they compete in colleges and things, yes, they have Olympic size track. Olympic track, the track. But what you see there, remember, are the prefabricated bleachers, etc., because they can put that up today, break it down tomorrow,
and break it down tomorrow,
and break it somewhere else.
And I know people don't know. I happen to on our beach. There's beach volleyball. You see a truck come in, lay down, lay down something. Next thing you know, it stands. The truck drive out, leave that piece on, and the next thing you know, the stands going all the way up, and there goes your stands. They break it back down. The truck pick it up, and they're gone.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, people like Hazel and others will tell you, as college athletes, former college athletes, they have competed in a lot of facilities where that is the case. And for example, Madison Square Garden will be hosting probably track and field. It used to host the indoor track and field on a Saturday afternoon, and probably Sunday night they have boxing or they have something else.
Something else.
They have the racing, the motocross racing. Why?
You'll
have to remove everything there and then bring in the boulders and all these sort of things. Yeah.
But what they don't know that, look at if you go back, not only Madison Square Garden, look at you see the same thing goes in a lot of places. Our basketball, in the bottom of it is ice. The Toronto Raptors, who is a world champion, in the bottom of that thing is hockey. It's ice where the Maple Leafs play. So they move it, and then baseball, the Sky Dome could go in, it can go out, they could move it around, they could design it for seats, they can do it for a soccer game, they can do it for a concert, they can do a lot of things with it because they have those things they can pull in, pull out. They can do whatever they want with it. It's capable to do that. we don't have those capabilities to have those stuff, right? We don't have the space. It will be nice in Grenada to see a new stadium. It will be beautiful to have a stadium in a different location. Or if it's not only a full stadium, it could be a 300-meter track, just a track itself, or it could be a tough, which is the fake grass, where people can actually train on it. It doesn't have to be a full track itself. All of the stuff is possible.
Well, it was interesting to hear from last week's program the whole issue regarding regarding St. Andrews and what was the plan, and then plan had to be shelved because of extra.
And then you ask now, where else can you put a track?
Can you put a track? Yeah. That's the other thing.
Where else can you do it?
Where it would have been probably ideal to have a track. Yeah, that would have been ideal.
I did suggest to someone I was speaking to, we can turn the 4 past here on Craven Grounds into a full track. You may have to move a few things, right? But
wouldn't you displace some of the residents nearby if you have to do that?
And that's what. No, you may not have to. But you may not have. But you may not have stands. You may not have stands.
Oh, you may not have stands. Okay, that's one. Now there was talk some years ago about the Cuthbert Peters Park, right? And I know there were a lot of studies were done, etc. A lot of work and money went into this Cuthbert Peters Park, right? There was concerns about the river, the what they call the flow bed, whatever it is. Well, the engineers may know more about that. There was a lot of talk about those issues regarding the river and whether or not something like that can be possible and things like that. So it would be nice to hear.
I think to me, what I'm seeing, the only place I can see where they can put a stadium if they.
Well, hold on. When you say a stadium,
I mean a track. A track. Not a full stadium. A track. Maybe probably Hartfield Grounds.
Boucherjou. That again might have to do some studies regarding the sea and all of that, the river in the back and things like that.
So I'm just saying, So location is a big thing, right? Location is a key thing. And when you have a location like they did, and something else end up taking preference over it mess up everything. It threw you off big time.
Well, and look the case. Queen's Park was always considered to be an ideal place for the stadium. But one, it displays a lot, and I'm talking about the sportsmen and sportswomen, the clubs, etc., and things like that. But two, look at the flooding situation in terms of the stadium. You understand what I'm saying? So I think the lesson.
They have the problems too. Yeah.
Right. The lesson going forward is that if you have to do something like that, or put a track in any of those other areas, you will have to ensure that you
you don't flood. It's designed in a way where the water have to run through from somewhere.
Right. And you mitigate all these things. And again, we don't want to get too consumed about the issue of stadium, because when we talk about stadium, people look about the buildings and
buildings and so forth. It could just be a track.
And I keep telling them that I have gone through various areas in North America, and I have seen what they call stadium. And I'm telling you, any of the grounds we have in Grenada, that is very good, and we can put bleachers and things on it, whether it's prefab bleachers, etc., portable toilets, we can call it a stadium. I am telling you that. What is more important for the two most important things for them? Among the two most important things is having the track, and the right track in terms of it being certified, etc.
Certified.
Having the facilities like toilets available, portable toilets for. Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be portable toilets. It has to be that sort of facilities. But
you have to be something.
Not the concept of having a pavilion for 5,000 or for 3,000 and this. No. In some instances, people are sitting on the banks. I have seen people are sitting on the banks.
On the banks.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
You go to New Zealand, for example, and the cricket pitches, and people are picnicking on the side, on the banks and things like that. So don't get caught up about stadium.
Remember, if you go back, I remember I told you about the movie Is it the 83, the Indian one? If you go back to that, you're seeing people almost sitting right at the boundary before cricket, really develop in a sense of a stadium and stuff in India, right? So people was right there on the boundary. So we come a long way, we come a far way, but there is a lot to get done in Grenada. There's a lot to be done, and as much as we want certain things, it's important that we have to see the economics point of it too, and then we have to understand certain things. And if there is no transparency between the people and the sports body, then you're always going to have issue, because if something couldn't be done or cannot be done, at least let the people know. Have some transparency with the people. Let the people know why we're doing it and why we're not doing it, or why we can't do it, and let the transparency be there. And it's gonna be better. There's too much hearsay and we should and why didn't we and all those things and them. And then when we really get to the depth of it, we realize that there was a financial issue. That we only have a budget for this, because that's not only for in Grenada. That goes for every country. There is a budget. Some people's budget is bigger than some. Some people's budget get big based on medals they accumulate over the years.
Right.
That's how it works. You understand why Jamaica been getting medals for many years? Their financial budget, Olympic-wise, goes up because they've been doing stuff. Soccer, they have women's soccer. How many Caribbean islands or country can say, "Hey, we have a national soccer team to that level"? Not much, right? So they have that budget. So when you look at Grenada, you cannot compare Grenada to Jamaica, because they up here, we still here, but we can compare ourselves with another island and say, well, why they're moving and we can't, when our population is almost the same and our budget should almost be the same.
Right. However, saying one aspect of sports tourism that needs attention is athletes training south, referring to Grenada for the winter season. Fred Cully was here recently, and look at how well he's doing. Also, previously, most of the team Canada came down here. Why can't we push this more? Well, not just Fred Cully. Remember, Marcio Cedeno is also training in Grenada with Albert. Okay, right. So Marcio Cedeno is one from Trinidad and Tobago who has been training with Albert, since he was a junior. Okay. And then we had Canada, who has been training for
Team Canada come there for many years.
Then that's athletics. Remember in cricket, before a couple of years ago, we used to have the English county teams coming down to Grenada during the winter. So it's not just track and field. We had the county teams that were coming down, and they will spend a while in Grenada, play cricket and things like that. And I think that is what part of the initiative being done now through the Tourism Authority, with the hope that they can get the county teams to return to Grenada, because they used to come down there, and they will come down there. Some of them will come with family members, or their family members will join them at some point. So what that means. They are staying in hotels, for example. They are doing rentals. They need fruits. They need vegetables. They need a lot of things. So they had this spin-off, okay? The idea too is to get some of the school teams to come to Grenada, because they play a lot of school cricket in England as well. And if a school team is coming, most of the kids probably will come with their parents to some extent. So again, there's a stuff, sports tourism, so these are some of the initiatives that it's possible. It's just that we have to get down, to use a local phrase these days.
Listen, we have a phenomenal stadium, and we got to utilize it. That's not just like cricket. Like, again, we can do that for cricket as much as athletics. How many meets do we have? Do we have a big meet where we invite schools within the Caribbean, or those in the world, or teams? So if you don't have certain things, then you just have the stadium there and you're just sitting there. When was the last time we actually had an international meet? Why don't we put a bid in for another Caribbean Games? Like all those things in them. Like, let us get on the ball, or host a NACA games, or do something. We just have a stadium there sitting down. A lot of it is getting rotten, and it's just sitting there because there's nothing happening done. if we can do that, you know, we also have to sell ourselves. We have to sell our brand. We have to sell, you know, just as how tourism sell Grenada. We have to do the same thing. Just as Carnival sell Grenada to the world so people come to Grenada for Carnival. We have to do the same thing in most of the sports that we do. We always known as the land of spice, always. And that's what we promote. When people come in, you step off the airport, you get the scent of the spice coming to you. You know, people love that. So we have to learn to do that now, how to be able to sell ourselves, brand Grenada, go back in the drawing board. How can we brand Grenada for the rest of the world to come in, and then we could have those events.
All right. Let me get some more let me see. Right. In the future, we might have to start looking at the decentralization of sports in Grenada in some aspects and hold people and organizations accountable for proper execution. Nice to see the Dominican Republic top athletes and female. Femke Bol were not afraid to step up and contribute to a medal for their country before pursuing their individual glory. Roger is saying, when will we see the day when you pick up a newspaper and sporting news are headlined and featured throughout with the unfavorable news and propaganda at the back pages? How nice will it be to see large photos of our children in action, like a football, tackle, high jumps, long jumps? Whoa, there are so much things to come together. That may be so, but who do we fault? One, I say we can blame the newspaper editors, we can blame the newspapers. But again, in this day and age, Roger, I don't think we have to depend on the newspaper for that. Each sporting association should be able to utilize and capitalize on social media. They should have a heavy social media presence. And I think somehow the media may catch on. I mean, the media has its responsibility. I mean, and as for one who has been in the sports media from since 1987 to probably still now to an extent, you know, even though I'm not practicing. But I think a lot of things have left us. A lot have changed. And even if I was around, I still think that we'll have to adapt to the challenges and to the changes to an extent. I would encourage the sports associations to ensure that they do have a very well-organized, vibrant, informative social media presence. And through that, I think sometimes the media will be guided. Look at the USATF, for example. And, you know, I was able to go on the USATF website and get information about our athletes. The USATF, and get information about our athletes. In fact, the little guide I put up on social media regarding our 3 athletes and when they compete in, etc. It was not because of the Grenada Athletic Association. In fact, I have reached out to the Grenada Athletic Association, and up to this moment in time, and let me double check. Up to this moment in time, I have not been afforded an acknowledgement, a receipt acknowledgement, or even a response of a query I've made regarding our participation. So that's besides the point. I'm saying that to say that if someone as Michael Bascom, who has a keen interest in sports and promoting sports, is requesting such, I wonder whether the non-traditional journalists, sports journalists I should say, requesting information, whether they will even get a response. So you see where I'm coming from, eh? So my thing is that I would suggest that these associations, whether it's athletics, whether it's football, whether it's cricket, you develop and maintain a very strong social media presence. It means, therefore, that your audience will not be just limited to Michael Bascom, Rudian, or even Roger Duncan. The audience will be, multiple, global. And as I said, I was able to go on the USATF website, do a little search to ensure that I didn't miss any other athletes, because I was not even aware of who is the team, the Grenada team. I don't know if a release was sent. I didn't receive. I requested some information and there was no response. And I was able to get it from the USATF website. Could you imagine that? I mean, certainly, if it was the US athletes, I will get it. But I was able to get information about our athletes from the USATF website. And I was able to get all the information I wanted from that, even though I requested it from the Grenada Athletic Association. Talking about that, folks, let me tell you something that may be breaking news for you. There was an athlete, well, there is an athlete, not was, he's still an athlete, who some years ago started competing for Grenada, based in the US. His name is Raul Delis. In fact, you can Google it now if you want. Raul Delis. And Raul was just saying, hey guys, I want to compete for Grenada, Masters, yeah, I'm over age and thing, but in the Masters section. And all I need is just some uniform and thing, and I'll be competing and thing like that. Somehow, somewhere along the line, they just forgot about Raul. Well, the good news is that Raul is now competing for the United States. And Raul is a world champion, a Masters world champion. He had his medals. He just came from Finland, I think, representing the United States in the Masters, and won individual as well as relays in the Masters section. And Raul has just made a request to Grenada for me to compete in the Masters, blah, 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 and things like that. So again, it highlights how we treat our own people. It highlights how we treat our own people, folks. And it's kind of sad, when sad in the case that I was one who did some of the forms for Raul, for him to compete for Grenada and things like that. So, and folks, it's kind of I get a bit emotional sometimes when these things come up, and I think about how some of these, sometimes I don't want to talk about these things, right? I don't want to talk about it because I get too emotional knowing the kind of thing that these guys went through and how they end up treating them, and it was kind of sad that someone like Raul, who really had, the Grenada and representing Grenada at heart, and somehow the way they treated him, it's kind of sad, I mean, he said he wants to be a Masters. What? I mean, and I want to compete as a Master. Come on, I mean, what that is taken away from that? Look, Raul, he's on the left. That's Raul. Big USA. They won the relay 4x1 or 4x4? Let me see. In they call it "This Amazing Team Fought Hard and Step Up to the Challenge." That was in Finland, Tampere in Finland. 4x4 to be exact. 4x4, folks. Masters. United States. I think it was men's of America. What was it? 340.92. Yeah, think Australia, if I'm not mistaken, was second. The United States was first. I know of other athletes who want to do that, want to be on a master's team for Grenada. And here is our good friend, Raul is from St. Patrick, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Again, I mean, what I'm telling you there is not hearsay. It's not hearsay. It's a sadness, you know. And it just highlights what some of our athletes have been going through. And I know Mike Batiste made the point earlier about us. I didn't highlight it much, but that is what Mike was talking about in terms of guys switching allegiances, you know. And I know of two current athletes who may do that, and they could, because they have not represented Grenada at least for the past year, going on to a year and a half. It means that if the next few months and they have not represented Grenada, they will be eligible.
2 years to represent another country.
Yeah, and say goodbye. And that is what is happening. You know, that is what is happening regarding our athletes. We will, I'm telling you, we lost Rico, we lost Rico Moultrie to the Bahamas.
Yep.
And we will, and I'm saying that we will lose other athletes. We have to get serious. It's a warning. Just remember, on July 16, 2022, we discussed this whole issue on this program regarding the switching of allegiance of some of our athletes. So when you hear that is, you say, okay, yes, I remember they spoke about it. Just remember.
And Michael, let me say this. Accountability matters. And we have people in position in sports. We're speaking about Grenada, who's been there for years, and there is nothing on their belt to show that they did this, or this is what's being done. And if it is, like I said, it's behind the scenes, behind the curtains, we don't know about it. We have coaches out here in the United States and Canada who basketball 1 year and they fire them. We have accountability where I've seen coaches who lost their job over $5 because it's important for them to have a business credit card or a company's credit card or a club credit card, and you can spend the money, but where's the receipt? You don't have no receipt, then you lose your job over just a receipt for $5. Accountability. And that's something that we don't see happening, something that we don't see happening in Grenada. People still have the job year after year after year and nothing to show for it. We have to have that. We have to start getting rid of people to let them know we are serious, because nothing is happening. So the same people over and over, hoping to get the same results, hoping to get different results, doing the same thing. Nobody. When the last time we see anybody in government get fired? I mean, I remember Tillman is getting rid of the Minister Joe for what he have done, but even in government, they don't fire them for when they do their wrong. They keep them around, or you move them around, or whichever you do. There is accountability, and the littlest thing should get you fired. The smallest thing. I mean, if you remember the situation with Minister Steele and with Steven Seagal, if he in this country, he's fired. But why do we think we have to keep them around? Why do we think we have to keep people around? Why? And that's when we keep them around, we have our younger people don't get the opportunity. Our younger athletes and athletes decide, hey, well, I'm not getting the opportunity, so why should I continue? I've been on 2 Canadian national teams. Been on the Grenada team, because I never heard from Grenada again after the Olympics. I've been on 2 Canadian national teams. I've been on an Ontario team, because I never heard from Grenada since 2000 to today. Okay, that's 20. You're talking about 22 years later. Never. So people are still there. Accountability matters, and that's what a lot of people talk about. It only to get rid of. Well, they have to show what they're doing. I don't care if they're there for 100 years. You can be there for 100 years, but doing something. But if you're there and there is nothing, there is no results in what you're doing. Like I was saying, like I was disappointed with the Grenada team when they went to the games, and the behavior, because they haven't competed yet, and they were dancing and they were thinking somebody could have get hurt. In another country, the coaches will never get another coaching opportunity like that again. The managers will never take another team out again. Why do we feel we have to do that and keep them around still? And until we have accountability, people will continue doing the same thing. There is no penalty for not doing anything or for doing anything. There is no nothing. So people can do the same thing. Over the years, you probably experience it. You go to a government building in Grenada to see someone and they're on lunch. 2 o'clock, they're on lunch. 3 o'clock, they're still on lunch. And you probably experienced that already. And those people are still in the job.
Yeah, the problem we have too is, and I think it came up in some of the comments there, the lack of, Kyron Batiste, sorry, mentioned it.
Yeah.
The lack of accountability, you know, and
accountability.
because it's as per usual. No one has to answer to that, or even if they ask them, they just say so is the case, and that's it. And you know, water under the bridge, we are waiting for another day. I didn't realize that the conversation is going so sweet that we time is gone. But that's besides that, because we have a lot of comments that coming in there, and I want to get to some of them.
Yeah, definitely.
Before we go on to the this on the 20 phenomena. Kyron is saying, just like MB was saying earlier, why do we have to hold up a selective field lighting project because of a sports policy? That can be easily executed by appointing a field committee that can make those decisions. True. And I say, even having the lights and thing, I mean, I don't even see the issue of the washroom and all these things as a main issue, because
that should come on later.
Yeah, Queen's Park Ground 2 has lights.
Yeah.
And there isn't any bathroom or pavilion or anything there. What it shows is that in the evening time, it means that if they're playing football or whatever it is like that, so it means that they can go until 6:30, they can go until 7 o'clock. On weekends, they can play a little longer, they can play a double header, all these sort of things like that. So whether it's a game at 4:30, what is the difference of having a game at 4:30 without lights and not having facilities, and having a game at 7 o'clock with lights and you either have facilities, you have to have back. No, it doesn't.
I mean, where I train, it is a stadium where I train right now. I have full access to it, but there are times the washrooms are closed. This is Canada. The washrooms are closed. It's not that important.
I mean, it would be nice to.
It would be nice to have it, but it is not.
And at some stage, I think they should. But
they should have it. Yeah.
I don't think,
especially on a female aspect, for changing, especially for that. The male, you know us, we are right, but on a female aspect, and kids too, young kids.
But by the way, and that is in the context of you having tournaments and etc. etc. But
a function, having something going on.
You can have the lights on for recreational purposes.
Yeah.
There's a stadium not too far in Brooklyn here, where folks use the stadium to walk on evenings, just walking the track, the usual morning jog or whatever it is like that. So, that's just
for recreation ground. Yeah, for recreation ground, and maybe almost every park in St. Patrick's have lights now. They don't all have washrooms, but they have lights.
Okay. Yeah. And I mean, it gives the community and the villagers an opportunity to recreate, right?
To recreate.
Yeah. So I think, I mean, the thing is that
it's nice too. It's nice too, but it's not.
Yeah. If lights are earmarked for there, I don't think it should be rolled up, because you do not have a pavilion and all these sort of things. You don't necessarily have to have a pavilion.
Why were it earmarked in the first place?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about it, and I could understand that. having the facilities, the toilets and things, which, is necessary in terms of having these public, a public thing as that. Okay,
Yeah.
but adding a pavilion and all that thing, so holding up because you don't have a pavilion, holding up the lights, because I don't think that is really necessary. I have athletes asking about that possibility as we speak, and I assume it's talking about allegiance. I think the stadium board and management should market or promote the stadium to other countries and regional international federations as a facility to train at and host regional international events. By the way, it's my hope that under the new
administration,
and where they call for the folks to be nationals to make themselves available or express an interest to being on board, something as the stadium authority will be one where we will see some people with fresh ideas, people with a marketing background, people with a knack to be proactive, to use their initiative, these sort of things like that. So, and not just going and sit down in a meeting and just sitting and then waiting for the stipend and no, and just yes. But you should be able to come with proposals. You should be able to discuss things that can benefit and have benefits to the stadium and to
come up with new ideas, daily ideas. And they should have somebody going out to the community, listening to the community, taking advice and asking questions, and in that way, that's how you help promote, and that's how you build. Yeah.
You should be having regular meetings with the national associations, especially those who use the stadium on a frequent basis. And in some instances, if you want, you can go as far as with clubs. But if you're dealing with the National Association, the hope is that the association can pass on that. And then also the issue with schools, as a matter of fact. So there should be some sort of clear policy and clear understanding of what is expected regarding the use of the National Stadium. And whether it's a cricket stadium, whether it's a Kirani James Athletic Stadium, So I'm just hoping that we'll have people who understand their roles rather, and be people who can use initiative and who can discuss things.
And also that too, the importance of having it, right? Why have it if you're just sitting on it? It has to be used, right?
I also think that the Athletics, Football, Cricket Association should have a representative on the stadium board. Fair enough. Hazel is saying the USATF utilize the talent and knowledge of their former athletes to drive the sporting industry, including selecting them to lead world championship teams, Olympics, etc. Good point. Good point.
But not only, even going further, Hazelin, universities bring in former athletes to build their programs in football, in tennis, in golf, and all those sports that they have to build, to have talk with them, to build their program up, and even to recruit as well. So yes, that is such a good thing, and that's such a good point, Hazelin.
A missed opportunity with Roll. We miss other opportunities like the long distance running, like cross country, road race, marathon championships. Certainly, Giselle, we talk a lot about athletics, and we think athletics is just running on the track. But once upon a time, Grenada had some of the better long distance runners in the Caribbean. If one could recall the marathon, well, it may not be possible now for a marathon from Samaritan to probably the Carenage, as they used to do years gone by, all because of the condition of the road on the western side, especially around the Molyneux area there. So we may have to use or look for some other means of doing a marathon. Can it be, how possible is a marathon on the eastern side? Somewhere out of probably St. Andrew, St. David there, come all the way down to using
a lot of hills though. It's a lot of hills, but
no, we're not using the hills. We're not using the hills.
Okay. There's another. Yeah.
We're using the St. David's area,
The St. David's area, that's true.
Because it was hilly to an extent. After Samaritan and all these places there, they have some hills, And it just, but back then I used to enjoy marathon. on a Sunday morning, you go down to the Esplanade or the Carnage, and you wait for the end of the marathon. It used to be good. Thing. Very sad indeed. We have to examine the personnel on these associations and determine if these administrators have a vested interest in our athletes. We have to get rid of these people that don't care about our athletes. Here's another one. I also know of 2 current Grenadian athletes that might switch allegiance based on how they feel they are not getting what they deserve. You see, folks,
shouldn't be that way. Should not be that way.
Remember this program. We spoke about it on this program, Saturday, July 16. So when you hear about it, you can always revert to that program and remember about that. We have athletes who are on the verge of switching allegiance, and it's possible that they can do it because there are circumstances under which they can do it. We need to get our house in order. Accountability, yes. Roger says, time gone. We are not busy. Bascom Soca Fets are still tonight on the things. All right, yeah, we'll make it up. We'll make it up the 2 hours. We were only for 1 hour, but it's very important that we discuss some things. Good afternoon, Ms. Maguire. Chenny, come on, Chenny. Listening as usual. Maybe a repository of ideas should consider and if utilized. Recognition to those who made those contributions. Yes, Chenny, you must say about Maguire House. Well, you know, Chenny is the former president of the Grenada Football Association, my good pal, also from Maguire House. Chenny always used to boast of him giving Maguire House the most points. I don't know about that, but you know, that's up for debate. One is saying I'm up for that marathon ago. Yeah, you know, that marathon thing used to be. I mean, I used to enjoy that. We used to have Morris Bull Williams. We used to have those guys both from St. Patrick and St. Mark. We had a number of distance runners from St. John, and then we had the St. Andrew contingent. Listen, marathon running, both male and female, by the way, used to be, I mean, out of this world. And the crowd used to be down either on the Carnage in front of the Central Police Station, which is known as the fire station, or you on the Esplanade area, which used to be the medical center. But that is now that area is now the mall section there. There used to be a medical complex there, and we used to be down there on a Sunday morning waiting because the marathon used to start somewhere around 6-7 o'clock in the morning, very early in the morning. Gets down finishes around 10, 11, 12, you know, the last set of thing come down. Yeah, Chenny's telling me now about those things. The Francis brothers, the Felix from St. Andrews, and our good friend Steve Hall and Peter King, yeah, some of the names. And then of late, we had the Callistus Bonaparte from St. Mark's. He was St. Mark's Secondary School, and then he was a distance runner. He represented Grenada. We had Duncan from St. John. Volin Duncan, I think was her name. Yeah, Volin Duncan. St. John's had a lot of, and listen, somehow, by the way, I think it was in the right thing to do at the time. But somehow, we used to have a lot of kids running, which would have been against international standards. But somehow, kids used to just find their way and run. Yeah, they used to run. I don't know if this from the start, but they used to run. You see them little kids running and completing the marathon. I don't know if they started just outside of the city or wherever. And when you really think about it, years after, you say, wait, now, that was wrong, you know. You're supposed to be at a certain age to be running these long distances and things like that. But it used to be real fun, you know. The marathon run in those days used to be real fun. The Francis brothers, thanks, Chenny. Yeah, and we used to have, I could remember that. I mean, the entire families will come out. And you know, you will hear the loudspeaker announcing the police outrider. You know, man. You may see the ambulance, depending on where you are. You might see the ambulance running, drive because somebody had to be.
Somebody didn't make it. Somebody didn't make it.
So you know, it used to be real fun. Sometimes somebody in a car and the car rushing down to the hospital because the ambulance busy itself. So they drop somebody in a car and they're running down. That's from the marathon, you know. This other thing, somebody fainted, you know. Man, real fun, man. It used to be fun, you know. There is an absolute need for a sports symposium in Grenada. We do not have all the ideas. The atmosphere is ripe for these discussions. We have been calling for that for years, Jenny. We have been calling for that for years. In fact, I go far as organizing a sports symposium for the diaspora. But it didn't work out because it was something that the Grenada Olympic Committee, had to initiate. So while you're there as the acting president, it's something you might want to follow up on, Mr. Joseph, that the sports symposium, and I went to the diaspora because I realized the national one at home wasn't really taking root. It wasn't, you know, there wasn't any bite. So I say, okay, we'll do one in the diaspora. Last week we spoke about it, and the minister and the transition lead agreed that we should have one intake. I still participate in the Run Barbados Marathon series. So Facebook user, I didn't think you give your name. It's not showing up. I would really like to know who's that person there. It seems to be a current runner. While we get that in terms of who is that person there that is still competing in the marathon and probably would like to see the marathon continue, I want to go again, thanks to the World Athletics. We want to go to that 100 meters, heat number 4 or 5, I think it was. And we'll also hear from that young athlete. Guys, it is one that you should look out for.
Good start. Blake takes a while to get up into his running. Tobogo going really well, the young Botswanan. What a talent he is. Blake's quite happy just to stand around and watch. Tobogo, Brown and Blake. This track is so fast. It's a world junior record.
It's official now.
So while
it's official now.
Yeah, thank you to the World Athletics for that. Let me see if I can get it again for you.
Good start. Blake takes a while to get up into his running. Tobogo going really well, the young Botswanan. What a talent he is. Blake's quite happy just to stand around and watch. Tobogo, Brown and Blake. This track is so fast. It's a world junior record.
Okay. Just before you go, so you're the youngster now.
Okay, just interviewed Tobogo, but it will mean that Reece Prescott is not through, but this young man is.
He certainly is, and he's with us here in the mix zone. A phenomenal run from you in that heat. What did you make of it?
For me, it's a very big step for me to take at a young age as I am, facing against the likes of Johan Blake. It was a tough race, but we managed to grab the lead.
How did you feel on the blocks? Were you nervous with all those big names around you?
I was nervous, but I kept telling myself that we should just come here, enjoy the race, no pressure, just do what you can do best.
You've got a world junior record with that time.
Yeah, we don't do the junior record back in Botswana, but the World Athletics said there was no zero gun, but we had to accept and make it as a PB. Then we are here again, we did it again.
More records to come, no doubt.
Yeah, they should come.
Best of luck for tomorrow.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, cracking performance, and it's always good to see the new talent coming through. Botswana have got a few athletes who've really been making constant strides forward. Can you? It's such a pun, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, we do know what you mean. Thanks again to the BBC for that. Before we go on to that, the actual person, they say the name is Philippa Sylvester, and that's the person who speak about the participate in the Run Barbados Marathon series. So thank you, Sylvester, and I want to wish you all the best, and I just hope that we can get some of those things, some of the long distance running on a regular feature There's no reason why we cannot have more long distance running rather than just 1 or 2 per year, you know, and things like that. So, yes, Rudian, our good friend, I mean, it's no fluke now. We know that there was some issues regarding the gun when he competed in Botswana recently. So his time was not validated. And as he said, they treated it as a personal best. But now they have to treat it as a world record.
As a world record,
Official world under 20 record.
On the 20 record.
His name is Let's See Tobago. Let's See Tobago. Yeah. And we have seen recently a lot of good sprinters, and sprinters as well as quarter milers coming from Botswana. Botswana
is the home of Let's See Tobago. Yeah, Botswana is like coming on to the home of 400-meter runners, and it tends to be having quite a bit of great 400-meter runners over the past few years, and it's good to see this young man coming up now. I was disappointed when he didn't get the previous record, but now it's official now, and I think he's going to run faster in the semifinals. He has to.
Yeah, that would be a cracker today.
It's fun even in that same race with Johan in there and seeing Aaron Brown, who I coached in high school, and who still is part of my track and field club, come third, Aaron Brown. So that was really good to see that. As well as, no question, do junior athletes get prize money for breaking the world record?
Well, it's not just this. Well, I mean, there's a price structure already. I think there was something about $100,000 for world record. I don't know if it's for the junior or in what category.
But that's the open. That's for the open record. It's not for the junior record.
Well, because it's not, because remember, it's not a junior championship. We had the junior.
No, but in general, do they get? Because he break the record. So
that is what I cannot say. But here's the interesting thing about it. Now, he's a junior, so he's in the under 20 category. There is the NCAA rules, which speak of athletes and the financial contribution or donation or whatever, prize monies, etc., what is considered, things like that. So now, some of these athletes are competing in the world championships. Are you telling me that if they win and they have to pocket, let's say, I think it's $70,000 for the winner, individual, and for the relay, I think it's $80,000 for the winner in the relay, and let's say they're a member of the relay team. How is that treated? How is that treated? I always think about that, So you cannot accept, according to their rules, you cannot accept money because it's considered as a professional, right? So like you go to the Diamond, well, I'm talking about Diamond League and all these things. That's why you find some of them only do that when they leave college and things like that. So, but at the World Championships, you win. And as a matter of fact, you place first, from first to eighth, you at least assured of prize money. Once you place first to last, you assured based on the prize structure. You ensure money based on the prize money.
So my question to
you is that, go ahead.
However, there is a NIL deal, and I'm looking at it now, and it's the last update, which is May 19th, where they said it's a contract set in place for student athletes to earn. Okay, so they can earn financial gain, and there is a lot of athletes.
And that's the updated NIL, right?
NIL, yeah.
May you said you referred to May of this year?
May 19, 2022 was the last update I sent.
Okay. So updated NIL. Yeah. So go ahead.
Yeah. So if they can accept funding, and I know of athletes, I know of a particular basketball player who is going to be playing at a specific school who really signed a $1 million contract already as an NIL deal. I also know every football player at the University of Oklahoma gets $50,000 a year, and that is for sure. There might be other schools who might be giving more. We know of the young man, I know his name right away, out of University of Georgia, the gentleman, the sprinter, the white boy. Sorry for saying that. The camera, his name. He also have an NIL deal with Dunkin' Donuts. So that means he's getting something. So that is there. So in terms of them competing and receiving that, I don't think it's an issue. But I don't know the extent of what they can collect or not. And that's a tricky one. That is truly a tricky one, which I had a conversation with someone recently, and I asked the question, due to the NIL deal, is it wise for athletes to leave college before graduating? Because they probably can get as much, because as far as I know, the NIL deal don't have no limitation. They can get as much as what a Puma can give them or what a Nike may give them. And then you see most of those athletes, they go pro, but then you don't see them performing because they got to go against the best of the world. And they may not be, if they get a contract, they're okay, but they're not the best of the world, you know. We recently seen that with Sha'Carri. Since she left school, she haven't made a US national team. And you ask the question, is there value to you leaving college when there is an NIL deal on the table now?
Well, that may be a case for student athletes in North America, but as we see, the Clayton twins, for example, decided
they went pro. They signed a Nike deal,
and they signed a Nike deal right away. And there's the question as to whether or not is the right thing to do. And I mean, not just signing the deal, but signing the deal and remaining in Jamaica to train. They remain in Jamaica to train, and of course, we know that some of these deals will involve the paying for their education and all these sort of things. And
there's little thing that is there that I hear that is not a platform to talk about. But then the question going in now, do athletes going to schools who is very from the Caribbean, is it wise for them to ask for a certain amount of finances or have them get an NIL deal for them to get to that school? Coming from the Caribbean. Because we see that the young Jamaican girl going to LSU, a phenomenal athlete. Is there a deal on the table that she could have stayed? She's just as good as the Clayton girl. She could have stayed and get she could have stayed and get a contract as well. Right? You know, she could have signed and get a contract. She wanted to go away. Now the question is, if she go away and she perform well, if she top 5 in the world in her freshman year, do you leave and go pro? You know, like, I mean, it's all about what you're getting, right? We heard of Abby Steiner. She's the grass was the highest paid after leaving college, but he did graduate when he was leaving. Abby Steiner still is not in her senior year, so she's hopping out, right, to go pro, and she's making $500,000 a year, and whatever other stuff that gonna goes with it, right? So, is there value in his leaving or staying? That's a hard one. But to the question you ask, I believe the NIL deal kind of override the financial money in the World Championship.
Well, yeah. We have another 20 minutes or so remaining in the program, but there's one thing I want to as I said earlier in the program, I made mention of a disc academy. So I had the opportunity this week to speak to some young aspiring as I would say, sportsmen and sportswomen. I say not athletes, even though most of them are, they want to be athletes, but there are one or two who said basketball, swimming. In fact, one said gymnastics, right? Yeah, gymnastics. But it was interesting, you know. And I had the opportunity to speak to them, but there was one in particular that I want you to listen to. I posted it earlier in the week, but I thought it very interesting because, you know, her age, her name, and you know, I want to give kudos to the folks who initiated that, and I must single out Callistus Bernard. As you know, Callistus Bernard was one of those who were jailed, and later he was freed. You know, death sentence commuted, I should say, for the 1983 issue. But he is all about giving back now. And he has been, I mean, to be honest, it's not something he had to do. It's not something I had to talk about. And I'm certain he doesn't really want me to talk about because he has been doing so many of these things before. But I just thought it wise to show you sometimes how from the bad, how the good, and how he's using his time to help young. And I'm not talking about 15 and 16-year-old, right? You're talking about kids from about between 6 and 11, you know, and the patience he is enduring, because kids at that age, you know, they're not focused, they're talking, they this, that. And, you know, I just looked at you know, I was able to look at them for quite a while, talk to some of them. And, you know, at the end, I just say, you know, I really want to congratulate you. I want to thank you for what you're doing. Don't thank me because I'm always ready to assist. But I want to thank you for that initiative, he and his wife, you know.
Yeah.
And certainly, I mean, you know, if there's anything folks can do to assist in initiatives like that, please do. It was a 1 week, and it culminated on yesterday, that's Friday, where they took them on a tour to the stadium, and then they would have had a games evening, track and field evening, because most of them involved in track, at the Woburn playing field later on in the afternoon. Well, again, to my friends, the Woburn playing field has lights. So it was from about 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock, where the folks, the kids can go there, their parents from work and they will go there, and they'll have a nice afternoon, evening with the kids under the lights, and they were running and, you know, things like that. So that would have been yesterday to bring an end to the camp, the 1 week camp. So let's just take in a little bit of it and then we'll come back and discuss. Okay. Okay. So if I can just continue to let you know, therefore, that that the and I was speaking about traveling to many countries. You as young and hopefully
Michael, you're on mute. You're on mute.
yeah, sorry about that, folks. Yeah, I was saying that sorry about that. I am trying to get the entire packet. I'm sorry, not the entire package. I'm trying to get just piece of it because the entire package was over probably almost 2 hours. Okay, and I don't want, we don't have time for 2 hours. We had time just for, you know, a little snippet of that with our little friend who came out and spoke, and you know, I thought it was, you know, it was good of her to provide that little thing about, you know, her involvement and things like that. Let me make sure I get the correct one. Let me see. Yeah, I think I got it now. Right. So if you just bear with me and listen to.
Thank you. All right. Last one. Let's go. Okay.
Hello. How are you?
You want to say you're going to give the chance.
My name is Renee Evelyn.
How old are you, Renee?
I am 9 years old.
And which school do you attend, Renee?
I attend Auburn Methodist School.
Okay, and what sport do you in athletics? You run? Do you run?
Yes, I run and I do gymnastics.
Oh wow! So tell me about what event do you compete in running?
What is your main event? Tell them. What's the main event in running? The 100 meters? 400 meters?
400 meters.
Okay, the 400 meters.
Say,
okay.
Repeat it.
400 meters.
400 meters. I heard that. And who is your favorite runner? Who is your favorite runner?
Usain Bolt.
Usain Bolt. Okay. And when you get big, what do you plan to do?
Yeah.
Gymnastics.
Oh, you plan to do gymnastics. Well, I want to
Gymnastics.
I want to wish you all the best. I'm supporting you. I will be encouraging you, and I want to wish you all the best.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Okay. And my favorite
Gymnast is who?
My favorite gymnast is Simone Biles.
Oh, Simone Biles. Okay.
We're going to give the book a chance.
Okay, thank you.
Thank Mr. Bascom for allowing us to have this session.
Thank you. Bye.
Go on. Go on,
Bye-bye.
give the book a chance. Go on. On behalf of
yeah. So what I like about it, and mind you, there was a little problem with the connection because they were in a center where the connection wasn't of the best. But I was, going along with the kids and things like that. So, and I enjoy speaking to them and things like that. But what I like about that is that 9 years old, attends the Woburn Methodist School. Renee Evelyn is her name, and she already knows who are her favorite athlete is Usain Bolt in track and field and Simone Biles in gymnastics. What else do you want? I mean, Rudy, and when you hear that from those kids at that age, you must feel that there is hope, and the most you can do is to assist them and to help them realize their dream. What you say? I think you now have to unmute yourself.
Yeah. Even going back to a few things that we talk about, the way that gymnastics and the United States promote Simone, the way they promote her, that here a young girl who is how many thousand miles away, no offer, and aspiring to be like her, and that is what we talk about. About our young people and our off guys and the things that we need so that our young generation knows of those who come before them, and hopefully they will inspire to want to be like them or do great things like they did. And here is a young girl who knows her so well and speaks so clearly. This is what, and this is who she liked, and she loved gymnastics, and I'm pretty sure it's because of her, because of social media. Those things is out there, and articles, and Simone just received a medal from the president of the United States.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
those things is big. And so there you go. Because if you ask in Grenada about track and field athletes, you're going to hear they all talk about Kirani.
Yeah,
They don't know
as a
about
matter of
anyone
fact-
else.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, a number of those
Yeah.
kids spoke about Kirani.
Yeah.
And interesting enough that some of them who spoke about Kirani, even when Kirani won the gold medal in London, for example, they
Yeah.
were not around.
Yeah.
They were not
And
around.
then you have exactly. And then you have
Yeah.
other athletes in Grenada that past athletes and former athletes, they don't know about them because
Well,
there's
and
only
that's
that
why-
one promotion.
Right, and that's why we're
Yeah.
saying that they need to recognize. So, for
Need to
example,
recognize.
as some of the posters were saying, as we'll say, callers to that extent were saying, that if we have something where the athletes can make a tour, and they can actually see that it's not just Kirani, but
Yeah,
there's
it just
Aline
yeah.
Francique, there is this, there's a Sherry Fletcher, there is this person,
Yep.
there is this past footballer, there's this past basketballer, swimmer, all these sort of things. They will be able to appreciate more, and it's not a situation of where it's just they only hearing about the Kirani James, but they can also hear and know about more of our people.
About more of those.
And then
Yeah.
and then they will be able to appreciate. And that's why
To appreciate
it's
that.
important to have
Yeah.
some form of a recognition. And again,
Yeah.
we do not need to hold up a sports policy to do things like that. It can start any way possible. As a matter of fact, some associations can even start that.
Mm.
Why not? We even said if there is a national effort in terms of on a broad scale, then national associations, whether it's cricket, whether it's track and field, whoever it is, can have their own. And then the Olympic Committee, to some extent, at some point, could kind of come together and put everything. But there must be a start.
And it's a social media thing too, right? Everything now is social
Yeah.
media, and that goes with who is your social media? Who is your social media team for Ministry of Sports? Not like I said, not track and field, for sports.
Mhm.
That they travel with a team who they can get that posting stuff, and stuff can be there. Let me show you this before you go, Michael. In athletics here in Ontario, even as coaches, we have to register through Ontario and / the Canada Track and Field Association. It's a registration, and every athlete has to pay. Every athlete has to pay. It's more of an insurance that if something happened to you, going to practice or while you're in practice or competition, you are covered under the insurance. So based on your age, there's a different amount you pay, but it's a yearly thing. They have our emails. We get in emails constantly of what's happening in track and field in Canada. When there's a national team and they post to the national team, when there is a team to make, they send you the forms. Even though if you could make it or not, there are times I get forms because the forms goes to everybody. So those things like that are helpful if you have that social media, emailing stuff to people, to parents. This is what's going on. This is what's happening, and get things out there. Then we can start somewhere to get somewhere. To get there. Start somewhere to get there.
Yeah, well, a couple of years ago, the Jamaica government was encouraging. They were encouraging athletes. Well, first of all, they were encouraging sports associations and their federations to enroll eligible athletes in the government's Jamaican Athletes Insurance Plan. Again, it's not just, it says athletes, but it wasn't just about track and field. And let me see, that was back in 2019. I saw this story there. Well, it was a story from back in 2019. But don't you know that even to this day, that some associations are seeing, and some athletes themselves are seeing the benefits of such, because when at the pen relays, the athlete broke her leg. There was an athlete who was competing and broke her leg. It was through the Jamaican insurance athletes, the Jamaican Athletes Insurance Plan, that was able to take care of her while she was in hospital in Jamaica. In the USA.
States. Because
And
that fee is not cheap.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Not cheap.
So here was this athlete who left Jamaica, representing a school, She wasn't representing Jamaica per se, but her school at the Penn Relays. But because she was eligible and she was under the insurance,
on the insurance, yeah,
she was able to be covered, and all her expenses were paid. In addition to that, there was a Jamaican young footballer, female footballer, who about 2 weeks ago was shot and killed in Jamaica. And through the same insurance, her parents were able to get benefits from
funding.
it. For
benefits
for her burial and other things, for her funeral and other things. So it's something that they have been talking. I think I'm not sure, but the Football Association may have it, an insurance plan. But this one is a
through the whole government.
Yeah, government
organized, the body, the sporting body. Yeah.
Well, the government of Jamaica itself.
Yeah.
But they're encouraging sports associations to enroll their eligible athletes. Whether it's football, whether it's cricket, whatever it is. Obviously, they will have to pay the premium, etc., etc. But you see how it's working out. Right?
Pays off, yeah.
It pays off. So the athletes who go out, the athlete who goes out and somehow injured or whatever it is, there is some sort of thing for that. Yes, there is one. There is one in Jazel. Let me see. Kyron is saying I have a Bahamian football athlete who I'm pushing in that direction. And then Jazel say I've never heard of a National Athletes Association. Is there one? Was there ever an attempt to create one? No, I'm not sure about that, but we're talking about the insurance. Okay. And as per usual, I like to share information. I like to share things, so I will put it up in terms of the Jamaica model for you. Folks, you might find our interest is waning a bit. It's because athletics is on TV. We have been watching some of the 110 meters hurdles. I saw my boy has some passion, into it. For folks who, I think in Grenada, it might be GDN television. Wherever you are, you might be able to find some track and field on TV. If you're in Canada, CBC. If you're in the UK, the BBC. And if you're very familiar with VPN, you can use it and probably get onto any of those streaming sites and things like that. So, but lots of track and field on today, and I encourage you, to think. Yes, Brother Kalai Glean, I want to thank you very much. Our good friend, Kalai Glean was the one who have been, I wouldn't say tormenting me, but he made some very good points and things like that. So, and I think we can have a very good discussion. And he has been involved. I don't want to just say sports, but has been involved in community. Yeah, that might be a better thing. From the good parish of St. John, and I do have affiliation to St. John. My wife is actually from St. John, Closure to be exact. So, Brother Glean, I do understand that. He's the son of a former education minister. Oh my, may his soul rest in peace. Kalai Glean Senior. Kalai Glean Senior. But thank you very much for all your input, and I will I'll revert to you on some of your inputs. I know you stir the pot with your insights. Thank you very much, and that's what I'm talking about. We can have a dialogue. Now, he said some things, I said some. He said, Closure is being lit. I know the joke. Yeah, Closure is being lit. Yeah, they will get lights. No problem. That's a joke though. Yeah, Closure is being lit. But that's what I'm talking about. We can discuss, we can differ on issues and opinions, but to be honest with you, it doesn't take away from the whole issue of dialogue. And I think that is what we need. We need more people who can dialogue, who can have a discussion,
Have a discussion.
And it's not all about, listen, and that's what I believe, that is what is good, it's healthy. Yeah. I say something, you can say something, even though you disagree with it, but we can find some way of compromise. We can find a
Because
consensus.
because I always say too, we are out here, and the way things have been done is not the same way in Grenada. There is certain policies, there is certain financial burden that may allow us to do some things. As out here, we see something and say, why can't we do this? Why can't we do this? Well, our budget is not to that level so that we can do that out here. It sounds easy until you get in there. Like we said, everybody believe they can be a prime minister until they get in there. It's a different story. Anybody can be a manager until they get in there. It's a different story. Anybody else can be an athlete until you start training. It's not easy, because I mean, even with coaching, I'm coaching them kids, and they're saying, man, it's hard. And I said, yeah, I know, I did it. But then I realized how hard it is, and I realized that that's what my coach used to do to me. Nothing, I'm doing this to you guys, what they did to me. So there is a lot of is there. But in the end, we should be able to have a neutral ground, have disagreement, have great ideas and great point of view, hoping that those who could make choices and those who is in charge of the policies and those who are in charge of those areas can hear us, and hoping they can take notes. And when they have their meeting, when they have their board meeting, they can introduce some of the things that we're talking about. And everybody point of view do matters, everybody point of view, but we also have to say it in a respectable way. We also got to think of where we at. We cannot want something because the World Games is going on. Look at the World Championship. We only have 3 Grenadians. Some of us will say, well, where's the rest? Where is this? Where is that? At the same time, if you're not running, how can you be there? If you're not in the top, how much in the world ranking, how can you be there? So it's one thing to say that. It's another thing to say that if you're not competing, how do you want to make that, right? So there is that in it too. And then the other argument would be, well, we have no meets. We have a stadium. There's no competition. And then we get to a proper dialogue instead of people having, this thing. And we have a right to, we can speak. We can say something that might be disagreement with some people, but we can have a dialogue.
Well, that is the idea, I say, of the program. And that's why I sometimes try people who may have a different opinion and things like that. I don't mind. You come on, we can have a discussion. And it's not so much an interview, but a discussion. So that's why, even though, that's why I made the opportunity, well, even though everyone knew that I'm very close with, and I'm using the GFA as an example, the Chenny Joseph, for example.
Yeah.
But I also extended an invitation to those who at the time were, campaigning against Chenny Joseph. And it wasn't, I saw it as a thing where, hey, listen, all I'm doing, we come in and discuss football. You can just talk about what you plan to do if you become
if you
the
get
leadership of football.
Yeah.
But I realized some of them took it personal. It became too personal as, oh, he's friend with Chenny and he's no. When it comes to, and I show them that, hey, we are friends, but I can take it at a high level in terms of on a professional basis. Not everybody who come on, I will agree. Mike Batiste, for example, Mike knows that. Mike is on my program every single week, putting out ideas, throwing out things, but not everything Mike and I will agree on, and Mike knows that because we chat sometimes privately, and we have differences on opinion on this, such, and etc. But that doesn't mean to say Mike is upset with me or I am upset with Mike. It's just that Mike has a different opinion.
Based on something.
We share a different opinion on something. Or Mike will say, hey, Mike, well, both of us are Michael then, but he will say, if it's I will do it this way. And say, Mike, if I'm in that position, I may do it this way. But at the end of the day, we respect each other's. You understand? And that is it. And we understand that. And that is what I like. That is so indeed.
The dialogue. It's a good dialogue.
That's what I'm saying. But there are those who, and as I said, look at that. Carl Green Jr. He shared his opinion. We differ on it. But hey, he says, Mike, good program, what blah blah, and he put some other things there and as a discussion, and that's what I'm saying. That is the level of maturity we encourage it. But there are those who they don't agree with and they block you. They miss that. They're not talking to you. As I said, I talk about the Grenada Athletic Association, and someone sent me and said, hey, we received that 5 days ago. I said, 5 days ago? They said, yes. I said, well, look at that. You received that 5 days ago. I have asked, and up to this morning, I asked again, and not even the courtesy of a response to say, hey, yeah, sorry, we probably missed sending it to you. I realize you asked, whatever. Not even an acknowledgement, but to be, that's how. And by the way, we're talking about national association, and national. We're not talking about a village team
A
or
village,
something.
yeah.
A national association.
National association.
Yeah, sad though, sad. Let me say good afternoon and thank you to Hazel Buckles, Roger, as usual, Roger. All those who Karen Batiste, that's Haran Photo, Karen Batiste, Jazel, Mike Batiste, as usual, who have always been providing like insights, even though they have things to do. They always make it a pleasure on a Saturday to be company with us and to put in their 2 cents. Jenny Joseph, thank you very much for putting in your thing, but at least we really want to see something from the Olympic Committee point of view in terms of groups of assistance. And our good friend, Philippa Sylvester, we really hope that you will get some long distance running, right? We hope that you will get some long distance running. I think they need to have some more of that in Grenada. And, we just hoping for the best.
And Michael, it will be good to have them on as well to get their point of view and their experience in terms of what it's like doing the long distance running. It might help someone else. It might help us to help somebody, So it'd be nice.
Yeah, certainly. As a matter of fact, there's some programs we have lined up. One has to do with rugby. Someone in the rugby had reached out to me regarding a program on that rugby. And there's another thing I need to do. Somebody sent me something regarding, and I said I will incorporate it into our program. I'll talk about it another time. But rugby is certainly one that we need to talk about. I think there's an attempt to revive, not to start, but to revive rugby in Grenada. And I say revive because I was a rugby player in Grenada back then. Seriously, I played rugby. We had a rugby league in Grenada. We played in Tantine. I mean, my wife used to laugh.
I mean, even saying about that, there's one sport I think if Grenada could invest in on a female's point of view is softball.
Oh yeah, why not? They will say
not necessarily baseball, but it's softball because you can go as far as the Olympic Games.
They might say you all trying to Americanize the sports in Grenada. You never know.
But because it's an Olympic sport, you've seen all these other countries getting teams going to those places.
Like
and then you sit back and you say, well, why can't we not?
Well,
like look at soccer, women, Jamaica.
Well, and you make a good point because not everyone, for example, may want to play cricket. Yeah. But they may want to play the softball, which is a little offshoot of cricket to baseball to an extent. So I understand that, but the argument again will be,
I know, But thank you for having me on. It is a good one. As usual, there's lots of going on. There's lots of World Games going on. So
we'll have lots to talk about coming on our next program because by then we'll be getting ready to wrap up on the World Championships because it will be the penultimate day. It will be the penultimate day next Saturday, and then we'll be looking forward to both the under-20, the World Under-20, and then
Commonwealth Games. Yeah,
and then we also have the NACAC Championship in the Bahamas. Okay.
In the Bahamas,
we do have it in the Bahamas. Okay.
That too,
So
thanks again, man. Thanks for having me. Thanks for listeners. Islan, it's always good to hear from you. You be well.
Yeah. Okay then. Thank you. All right then. So I want to thank, as usual, our good friend Rudian in Toronto, Canada, and all those who have made it possible for our program. Who have been on and yes, Hazel, thank you, and providing insights into our program. Always a pleasure having you, and the invitation is just to is for you to join me next week. Remember, there's World Championships on. Kirani will be in action from Sunday. We also have Lyndon Victor who will be competing on next Saturday and Sunday. So he has some time Saturday and Sunday. And then during the week, we also have Anderson Peters, who will be competing in the men's javelin. So we do have a lot to look forward to. We really hope that our guys can, make it to the podium. They have a chance. I think all three, they do have a chance of making it to the podium. It's tough for, Lyndon and the decathlon, as folks don't really know that. I mean, it is a marvel to see these guys end 10 events over 2 days, and it's all about competing and the points, but it takes a toll on the body. And for those guys to complete it, I think not just about winning the medal, but completing the 10 events, because some people fall out after the first day. But if he can survive the 10 events over the 2 days, I think he's a winner by that standard, especially in the context of not having that much during the season and things like that. So when you're a decathlete, you cannot compete in that many decathlon as an athlete can compete probably in a 400 if they want to, this weekend, next 2 weekends. When it's a decathlon, you have to give the body time to recuperate. You have to rest because you might have some nagging injury that you have to take care of, the muscles, all these sort of things. So, it's how many they can compete in the season, and when they do, we have to really encourage them. Thank you, folks, once again, and a pleasure. And I hope to see you around come next weekend when we do try to have another program. I'm Michael Bascom, wishing you all the best.